Patricia Taylor, 76, stood in first class, only to be brutally denied her seat and shamed by a snide flight attendant. A pompous passenger smirked, his disdain crystal clear, until Keanu Reeves stepped in, stunning everyone into silence. What erupted next turned that plane upside down and rewrote one life forever. Before we unpack this jaw-dropping story, tell us, where are you watching from? And if you're hooked on tales like this, hit that subscribe button because another stunner drops tomorrow. Let's roll. March 1st, 2025. Dawned cold and gray over Los Angeles. The sky heavy with storm clouds, hinting at trouble ahead. Patricia Taylor, 76, stood at the boarding gate of Pacific Wings, Flight 217, clutching a worn canvas tote bag close to her chest. She wore a simple navy coat, its edges frayed from years of use, and scuffed low-heeled shoes that spoke of a life spent on her feet. Her eyes, though tired, still held a quiet spark. She was a retired costume designer who'd poured her life into raising her son, Keanu Reeves, through lean years of sacrifice. Today, she was flying to New York to visit an old friend, a trip she'd looked forward to for months, a rare moment of peace. As she stepped into the first-class cabin, the air felt crisp and sterile, a stark contrast to the damp chill outside. Patricia handed her ticket to the flight attendant, a young woman in her mid-20s, blonde hair tied back tightly, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The name tag read, Jessica. Jessica glanced at the ticket, then frowned sharply. Patricia Taylor? This is an economy ticket. First class isn't for you. Her tone was clipped, edged with impatience. Patricia hesitated, her hands trembling slightly, from the cold, or perhaps nerves. I know, she said softly, but I called ahead and was told I could get an upgrade if there was space. I'm not as strong as I used to be, and I was hoping. Her voice trailed off, humble and unassuming, the kind of request that carried no entitlement. Jessica snorted, a sound dripping with disdain. Called ahead? Who told you that? We don't hand out free upgrades because someone hopes for it. First class is for paying customers. She pointed down the aisle toward the back of the plane. Economy's that way. Move along. Don't hold up the line. Patricia froze, lips pressing into a thin line. She wasn't one to argue, but the harshness stung, a quiet humiliation blooming in her chest. Around her, a few first-class passengers took notice. A middle-aged man in a tailored suit, swirling a glass of red wine, muttered to his companion, "Another old lady trying to sneak into first class without paying. Typical." The woman next to him, sharply dressed, blonde, in her 40s, giggled and nodded. They always think they deserve special treatment. But not everyone was so callous. A young woman, maybe 20, with dark hair and a phone in hand, lowered her device and frowned. "That's harsh," she whispered to her friend. "She's old and looks exhausted. They could at least be nice about it." Patricia sighed, her shoulders slumping, as she turned to leave, resigned to the cramped seats in economy. But then, a voice cut through the hum of the cabin. "Hold on a sec." A man in his 50s stepped forward, with an air of authority. He wore a gray suit, crisp and expensive, and carried a leather briefcase. His name was Richard Cole, a veteran airline executive and shareholder in Pacific Wings. He fixed Jessica with a stern look. "She's elderly and clearly not well. You can't make an exception? I see empty seats right here." Jessica crossed her arms, her voice rising with defiance. Who are you to tell me how to do my job? Rules are rules, empty or not. It's not her seat. If you're so generous, give up yours. But don't expect me to bend over backwards. Richard's jaw tightened. It's not about bending over backwards. It's about basic decency. You're embarrassing her over nothing. He turned to Patricia, his tone softening. Ma'am, take my seat for now. I'll sort this out. Patricia shook her head, her eyes glistening with gratitude and reluctance. Thank you, sir. But I don't want to cause trouble. I'll manage. She started toward the economy section again, her steps slow, deliberate. But the tension in the cabin was already thickening, like the storm clouds outside. And then, a figure appeared at the entrance to first class. Unnoticed at first, amid the brewing conflict, he wore a faded denim jacket, dark jeans, and a baseball cap pulled low over his face. A man, blending into the crowd, or so it seemed. He'd boarded quietly, intending to keep a low profile, on this last-minute flight to New York for a meeting with a director. But as he stepped into the cabin, his gaze landed on Patricia, his mother, and the scene unfolding before her. It was Keanu Reeves. No one saw it coming. A gasp rippled through the cabin as heads turned, eyes widening in disbelief. The wine-swirling suit dropped his glass, red liquid splashing across his pristine pants. Holy Keanu Reeves, he muttered, fumbling to wipe the stain. The blonde beside him clapped a hand over her mouth, her laughter morphing into a stunned squeak. Even Jessica froze mid-sentence, her clipboard slipping slightly in her grip. Keanu hadn't planned this. He didn't even know his mother was on this flight. Pacific Wings was his airline, a passion project he'd built from the ground up, not for profit, but to reflect the values of kindness and respect. Values he'd learned from Patricia during their hard-scrabble days. Now, seeing her treated like this, on his own plane, a quiet fury ignited behind his calm exterior. He pulled off his cap, revealing his unmistakable face, and the cabin erupted into whispers. Is that really him? No way! Keanu owns this airline. Oh my God, that's his mom. The young woman with the phone, Lily, immediately started filming, her hands shaky with excitement. Keanu strode forward, his voice low, but cutting through the noise like a blade. What did you just say? To my mother. The question wasn't loud, but it carried a weight. That silenced the room. Jessica's face, drained of color, as she stammered, Mr. Reeves, I didn't know she was your mom. Patricia turned, eyes widening in shock. Keanu, what are you doing here? Her voice was barely a whisper, laced with confusion and a touch of embarrassment. I could ask you the same thing, Mom, he replied, his tone softening for her, but hardening again as he faced Jessica. Why? Isn't she in first class? There are empty seats. I can see them. Explain that to me. Jessica fumbled, her bravado crumbling. It's policy, sir. We don't upgrade for free. No exceptions. I was just… Policy? Keanu interrupted, stepping closer. This airline is mine. I make the policies, and I didn't build it. So my mother, or anyone, could be humiliated like this. He turned to Patricia, gently taking her arm. Mom, sit here. He guided her to the nearest first-class seat, ignoring the stares boring into him. But the conflict wasn't over. The suit, Victor, lurched to his feet, his face flushed with indignation. Hey, Reeves, I paid top dollar for this seat, not to watch some celebrity play hero and shove his mom into my space. This isn't one of your movies." Keanu spun around, his eyes narrowing. "You paid for a seat, not a license, to disrespect my mother. You've got a problem with it. I'll refund you double right now. But she's staying." His voice was steady, but the edge in it made Victor flinch. Victor squared his shoulders, undeterred. "Oh, you think you can throw money around and call the shots? I've been a VIP with this airline. Longer than you've owned it, pal. This is—" He jabbed a finger at Jessica. "You, do something. Get your manager up here." Jessica hesitated, clearly out of her depth. But another flight attendant, an older man named Carl, with graying hair and a calm demeanor, stepped in. "Mr. Reeves, I apologize for this. We handle it." He looked at Patricia with genuine respect. "Miss Taylor, please stay. I'll make sure everything's taken care of." The plane taxied and took off, engines roaring as it climbed through the turbulent sky. But the atmosphere in first class remained electric. Victor slumped back into his seat, muttering to his companion, "Typical Hollywood crap. Fame gets you everything." A few passengers nodded in silent agreement, their expressions sour. Lily, however, whispered to her friend, "He's right to stand up for her. That jerk was laughing at her 5 minutes ago." Patricia settled into her seat beside Keanu, her hand finding his. "Keanu, you didn't have to make a scene for me. I was fine." Her voice was gentle, pleading almost, but he shook his head. "Mom, you never ask for anything. Not from me, not from anyone. I'm not letting them treat you like that." He squeezed her hand, his jaw tight with resolve. Behind them, Richard Cole watched in silence, his mind churning. As a major shareholder in Pacific Wings, he'd spent years prioritizing profits, cutting corners, raising fares, trimming staff. Seeing Keanu defend his mother with such ferocity stirred something uncomfortable in him, a pang of guilt he couldn't shake. Then Victor stood again, his voice booming over the hum of the engines. "Reeves, this isn't over. You can't just waltz in here, flex your fame, and screw over paying customers. I'm suing this airline for discrimination. You hear me?" He pointed at Keanu, his finger trembling with rage. Keanu rose to meet him, his height and presence imposing, despite his casual attire. "Discrimination," he scoffed. "You mocked my mother for being too poor for first class. Who's the one throwing weight around here?" He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a near growl. "Go ahead and sue. I'll see you in court. And trust me, you won't like the outcome." Victor's face turned beet red, but Keanu's unflinching stare made him falter. He retreated to his seat, snarling under his breath. "You'll regret this, Reeves." As the plane leveled off, Lily's video hit X, captioned, "Keanu Reeves just owned first class to save his mom. Legend." It exploded online. Thousands of views in minutes. Comments flooded in. "This is why Keanu's the best. Those snobs in first class suck. Money can't buy class." Carl, the older flight attendant, approached Keanu quietly. "Sir, I'm sorry about Jessica. She's new, doesn't get what this airline's about yet." He paused, then added softly, "I met your mom once, years ago, at a charity event. She's incredible. You take after her." Keanu offered a faint smile. "Thanks. Just keep her comfortable. That's all I care about." Patricia looked at her son, her eyes misty. "Keanu, you didn't need to do this, but thank you." She gripped his hand tighter, memories flashing of late nights, sewing costumes by candlelight, just to put food on their table. never imagining he'd one day fight for her. Like this. The storm outside rumbled louder, but inside, the real tempest was just beginning. The plane sliced through the stormy sky, the occasional jolt of turbulence rattling the overhead bins, sending a murmur through the first-class cabin. Outside, lightning flickered in the distance, but inside, the real storm was brewing, hotter by the minute. Keanu sat beside Patricia, his hand still resting over hers. As she stared out the window, her face a mix of gratitude and unease. The confrontation with Victor and Jessica had left a bitter taste in the air. And though the cabin had quieted momentarily, the undercurrent of resentment simmered like a pot about to boil over. Victor, the belligerent VIP in the tailored suit, couldn't let it go. He leaned forward in his seat, his voice rising again, sharp and venomous. "You know what, Reeves? This is exactly what's wrong with the world. People like you think you can bulldoze everyone else just because you've got a famous face and a fat wallet. I'm not some nobody you can push around." He jabbed a finger toward Keanu, his wine-stained pant leg, a glaring reminder of his earlier humiliation. Keanu turned slowly, his expression unreadable, but his eyes burning with restrained intensity. "You're right, Victor. You're not a nobody. You're just a guy who thinks a first-class ticket gives him the right to treat my mother like dirt. If that's your version of somebody, I'll pass." His words were calm, but they landed like a punch. A few passengers shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Victor's face twisted into a sneer. "Oh, spare me the sanctimonious crap. You're not fooling anyone with this humble hero act. I'm calling my lawyer the second we land. This airline's done for." He pulled out his phone, defiantly tapping the screen, despite the no-signal altitude, as if sheer willpower could connect him to his legal team. Patricia squeezed Keanu's hand, her voice a whisper. "Keanu, let it go. He's not worth it." Her eyes pleaded with him, the same way they had, when he was a boy, getting into scraps, to defend her honor in their rough Toronto neighborhood. But Keanu shook his head, his jaw tight. "Mom, he doesn't get to talk to you like that. Nobody does." Across the aisle, Richard Cole, the airline executive, watched the exchange with growing unease. His polished exterior hid a churning conscience. He'd built his career on ruthless efficiency. But Keanu's fierce loyalty to his mother was cracking something open inside him. He adjusted his tie, then stood, stepping into the fray. "Victor, enough," he said firmly. "You're making a fool of yourself. Sit down before you say something you can't take back." Victor whirled on him, incredulous. "Who the hell are you? Another Reeves fanboy? Stay out of this." But Richard didn't flinch. "I'm Richard Cole, majority shareholder of Pacific Wings, and I'm telling you to back off, or I'll have you escorted off this plane when we land, VIP or not." The threat hung heavy, and Victor's bravado faltered, though he muttered, "We'll see who's escorted where," before slumping back into his seat, glaring daggers at Keanu. Just then, the plane lurched violently, a jolt, far sharper than before. Glasses clinked, a tray slid off a table, and a chorus of gasps filled the cabin. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom, steady but urgent. "Folks, this is your captain speaking. We've hit some unexpected turbulence, Due to the storm system moving in faster than anticipated, please remain seated and keep your belts fastened. We're working to stabilize. The announcement only fueled the tension. Jessica, still rattled from Keanu's earlier rebuke, scurried down the aisle, her clipboard clutched like a shield. She stopped near Victor, whispering nervously, "Sir, please, we need to keep things calm." But Victor waved her off, snapping, "Calm? With this clown running the show? Fix this mess, or I'll have your job too." Lily, the young woman filming earlier, leaned toward her friend, her voice low, but excited. "This is insane. Keanu Reeves, a storm, and now this jerk. It's like a movie." She uploaded another clip to X, captioned, "Turbulence on Pacific Wings, inside and out." Keanu still the GOAT. The post went viral instantly, racking up retweets and comments like, "Victor sounds like a total ass. Protect Keanu and his mom at all costs." Carl, the older flight attendant, approached Keanu and Patricia, his demeanor a balm amid the chaos. "Mr. Reeves, Miss Taylor, can I get you anything? We're doing our best up here." He glanced at Victor, then back at Keanu, lowering his voice. "Don't let him get to you. Your mom's a class act. I've seen her kindness firsthand." Keanu nodded, a faint smile breaking through. "Thanks, Carl. Just keep an eye on her for me." Patricia patted Carl's arm, her voice soft. "You're sweet, dear." "I'm fine. Really. But..." Her hands trembled slightly, betraying the strain of the ordeal. The plane rocked again, and a woman, in the back of first class, a nervous flyer in her 30s named Sarah, let out a small cry, clutching her armrests. "We're going to crash, aren't we? This is all because of this stupid fight." Her panic rippled outward, amplifying the unease. Victor seized the moment, shouting, "See? This is what happens when you let egomaniacs take over. We're all screwed." Keanu stood, his voice rising, just enough to cut through the noise. "Everyone, relax. The pilots know what they're doing. Panicking won't help." He locked eyes with Sarah, softening his tone. "We're okay. I promise." His calm steadied her, and she nodded, exhaling shakily. But Victor wasn't done. "Oh, great. Now he's the captain too? Give me a break." He lunged from his seat, shoving past Jessica to confront Keanu again. "You're a liability, Reeves. This airline's a joke. Because of you." Before Keanu could respond, Richard stepped between them, his patience snapping. "Victor, sit down, or I'll have you restrained. I'm not kidding." The threat carried weight. Richard's authority was no bluff, and Victor finally backed off, though his glare promised retribution. The storm raged on, but a shift was happening in the cabin. Sarah, the nervous flyer, watched Keanu with new eyes. She pulled out her phone, typing a message to her estranged sister. "Saw something today that made me think of us. Can we talk when I'm back?" She hesitated, then hit send, a tear slipping down her cheek. Keanu's devotion to his mother had struck a chord she couldn't ignore. Lily's videos kept spreading online, drawing thousands into the drama, unfolding at 30,000 feet. A passenger in economy, a teenage boy named Jake, caught wind via his phone and whispered to his mom, "That's Keanu Reeves up there, fighting for his mom. I should call Dad when we land." His parents had split years ago, and he hadn't spoken to his father since. Meanwhile, Richard pulled out a notebook, scribbling furiously. He approached Keanu, his voice low but resolute. Reeves, I've been wrong about this airline, about a lot of things. What you did for your mom, it's what this company should stand for. I'm rewriting our policies, starting with lifetime first-class access for her. No questions asked. He tore out the page, handing it to Keanu. Patricia gasped, covering her mouth as she read the note. "Oh, Richard, you didn't have to." But Keanu just nodded, a quiet acknowledgement of a man trying to right his wrongs. The plane shuddered again, harder this time, and the lights flickered. A collective gasp rose, then silence, as the cabin went dark for a heartbeat. Before the backup lights kicked in, the captain's voice returned, taut with strain. "We're experiencing mechanical issues tied to the storm. We're diverting to Chicago for an emergency landing. Hang tight." Panic erupted. Victor leapt up, yelling, "I knew it! This is your fault, Reeves! Your damn airline's falling apart!" Jessica scrambled to calm passengers, her voice cracking, while Sarah sobbed openly. But Keanu stayed steady, his arm around Patricia. "Mom, we're fine. They've got this." The descent was rough, the plane bucking against the wind as it approached Chicago O'Hare. Passengers gripped their seats, prayers and curses mixing in the air. Victor's rage morphed into fear, his bravado gone as he clung to his armrests. Richard stared out the window, his notebook crumpled in his fist, while Lily filmed silently, whispering, "This is unreal." The wheels hit the tarmac with a jarring thud, skidding slightly, before slowing to a stop. Relief washed over the cabin, but it was short-lived. As the crew prepared to deplane, a new voice crackled over the intercom. Not the captain's, but a woman's, cool and commanding. "This is Special Agent Laura Hensley, FAA. Remain seated. We're boarding to investigate reports of a disturbance and potential sabotage on this flight." The cabin doors burst open. Armed agents stormed in, their badges glinting under the dim lights. Passengers froze, stunned, as Hensley strode to the front, her gaze sweeping the room. Keanu Reeves, Victor Marshall, Richard Cole, step forward. We've got footage and witness statements implicating all of you in a chain of events that nearly brought this plane down. Keanu blinked, incredulous, as Patricia clutched his arm. "Sabotage? What are you talking about?" Victor paled, stammering, "This is insane! I didn't do anything." Richard's face hardened, but he stayed silent, stepping up beside Keanu. Hensley held up a tablet, showing Lily's viral video, synced with grainy cockpit footage. An altercation in first class triggered a chain reaction. Shouting disrupted crew coordination, and an unsecured tray from the fight jammed a critical control panel during turbulence. "We're detaining you for questioning." The agents moved in, cuffing Victor first, as he protested wildly, then motioning for Keanu and Richard. Patricia stood, her voice trembling, but fierce. "No, you can't take my son. He was protecting me." Keanu turned to her, his eyes soft despite the chaos. "Mom, it's okay. I'll handle this." As they were led away, Lily's camera caught it all. Her caption, "Live, Keanu arrested after saving his mom. WTF just happened?" The feed cut as agents confiscated her phone. Outside, rain lashed the tarmac, lightning illuminating the surreal scene. Patricia sank back into her seat, tears streaming down her face, clutching Richard's note. She'd never asked for any of this, yet her quiet trip had spiraled into a storm that reshaped lives, exposed truths, and left the world, watching in disbelief. And somewhere, in the holding room, Keanu sat, staring at the wall, wondering how kindness had landed him here. So, what do you think of this wild ending? Keanu, Victor, and Richard hauled off in cuffs after a stormy flight. What a twist. Will Keanu face charges for standing up for his mom? Or will his actions be cleared in the chaos? Could the investigation dig up Victor's role, or maybe Jessica's carelessness, as the real trigger behind that near crash? The truth, still up in the air, just like Flight 217. We want to hear your take. Drop your thoughts and theories in the comments.